Are you looking for ways to market your book offline? We're going to talk about that coming up. Hey guys and gals, boys and girls, authors and author wannabes. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I certainly am. Another hot and sunny day in Alabama at the Knox compound for wayward dogs. I would take the camera off and kind of show you. I have I have 5 dogs here lying in the studio on the cool hardwood floor, just dozing. What a great life. I want to die and come back as one of my dogs, but I digress. On the program today, we are talking about ways you can offline market your book. On the last video, we talked about how you could do that online. I think I gave you 10, 11, 12, 13, some odd tips on how to do that. But a lot of authors forget that you can also market locally, offline. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Of course, you know, as an author, your goal is always to get your book in front of as many possible readers or readers as possible. Now, it's relatively, easy to self-publish online. You can use Amazon or CreateSpace or Lulu or any of those platforms, but it's harder to get your books into stores because most bookstores like Books A Million, Barnes and Nobles, they already have huge distribution deals with publishers, and publishers are not really crazy about we self-publishers, about us indie authors. So we have to be creative. So here are a few things that have worked for me in the past, and they may work for you. And it really comes down to just hitting the streets, getting out and talking to people. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure, or at least try to get your book into local bookstores. Now, sometimes you can do this and sometimes you can't. If you're talking to a big national chain, I have found that most of them are open to the idea, and most bookstores have a local section where they will highlight the books belonging to local authors. So really all you got to do is order some books, get them off of CreateSpace or wherever you get them printed, and take a box of books, walk into Books and Noble, ask for the manager, introduce yourself, just say I am a local author and I have written a book and I'm just hoping that I can put some of my books here in your store. Now, you may have to leave them on consignment. It depends on how they do things. You can talk about that. But chances are they may actually let you put a few books there. Now, here's something that I used to do that you probably shouldn't. When I wrote Everything I Know About Business, I learned from my mama. John Wiley published that book, and it went into every bookstore on the planet. It was really cool walking through an airport and seeing my book in a window and waiting for someone to recognize me, and they never did. But what I used to do is I would go into my local bookstores like Books A Million that has a zillion books. I would find my books back in the business section and I would put them on the table near the door. So as soon as people walked in, there was my ugly mug, and sold a few books that way. My friend Mike McAllowitz, he actually self-published his books and would sneak them in to bookstores. I'm going to have Mike on an interview show coming up. But anyway, you can do that. You just go down, you ask for the manager, you say, I'm a local author. Here's the book I've written about it. Here's a copy for you. I've already signed it. I was wondering if I could have a few books here in the store. Chances are they're going to say yes. Then you can ask if you can have a book signing. Now, let me say this about book signings, because a lot of people think that at book signings, you sign and sell hundreds of books. No, not the way it works. I have had book signings, folks, and I think the most that I had turned out at a book signing was a couple of dozen people, and I might have sold 3 books. So unless you're a big name celebrity, chances are nobody's going to show up at your book signing except maybe your family and friends, and then they just want a free book. But it never hurts to offer. So you can say, hey, is it okay one weekend I set up a table here, we do a little book signing? You can get on using the tactics that I talked about on the last video about how to market online. You can get on Facebook, you can get on your blog, you can use your email list and say, hey, I'm going to be at Barnes and Noble Friday at 8 o'clock, come down, get a book, etc. So offer to do a book signing. Now, you should go to every bookstore in town, whether they are the big ones or the small ones. You don't care. You are just looking for exposure. And you might have to get creative. if you don't have a lot of bookstores in your town, what other places can you go? Can you do a book signing at I don't know, another shop or a boutique or a coffee house or even a comedy club? I've seen authors do that, have a comedy night where they have a buddy come in and tell jokes and then they read from their books. I like the jokes part. So get creative. Think about ways and places where you can take your book. I live in Huntsville, Alabama. My book, my marketing guy even got it into the U.S. Space and Rocket Center gift shop. We also got it into one of the local smaller airport bookstores. So when you're marketing yourself, go in under the old adage, the worst they can do is say no. Ask them. It never hurts to ask. So look for other places other than bookstores where you can do that. Do some book signings. But you want to think creatively. How can you get the word out? How can you get folks in town interested in your book? Now, a couple of ways that I've had really good success with is I call the local news. And here's the thing you got to remember about the news. Most of it's bad. Even the local news in my small town, killings, rapes, robberies, locusts, it's just awful. They're starving for good news. So if you call up the TV station, ask to speak to the news director or the assignment desk and just introduce yourself or go down. Show up in person. It's harder to say no when you're looking at them in the eye. Again, just tell them you're a local author. You have written this book, and you are wondering if they would like to do a little interview with you. Chances are they will. You might actually end up on the news. Now, if you do that, I said you want to make sure that you get a recording of that you can then post online. You see, online, offline, they kind of work together that way. But go down and talk to the TV stations, call the local radio stations, especially the morning shows. Again, they've got to fill 4 hours with just banter and music. They're usually happy to have someone to interview so you can become like a little local celebrity. People might recognize you in the Publix shopping center and ask you to sign a book. You never know. It's happened to me. It's really funny, the places where you get recognized. But again, think creatively. Look for those outlets where you can toot your own horn. One of my favorites is speaking at local organizations, whether it is the Rotary Club or there's always a book club. Go to your local library, offer to come in and speak. And you don't have to get up and give a speech. What you're basically going to do is you're going to tell a little bit about yourself. You're going to tell a little bit about why you read the book or wrote the book. And then just maybe read from a chapter. Very, very easy. Nothing to be nervous about. Stand in your bathroom in front of a mirror and read out loud, and you can do this. Trust me. So network locally. Again, go to those stores. Get in touch with media, radio, television. If you're a major town that has like a website, like here in Alabama, we have al.com, they will probably write about you too. And always put links to your Amazon sales page when you do this. So there you go. You got to get out there. You got to toot your own horn because very few other people will. But if you take the initiative, you never know where this is going to lead. Get out there, get your books in these stores. And again, not just bookstores, but maybe gift stores, boutiques, wherever books can be sold, coffee houses, Starbucks. We got my books into the local Starbucks simply by asking. So do that. Take advantage of the media, radio, television. You might do a press release and then offer to speak at organizations, especially if your book is related to an organization. If you're a veteran and you have written a war history book or something like that, that is going to relate to veterans, and chances are they're going to want to have you come down and speak. So think about it. What did you write about? What do you know about? Then get out there and offer to sell books. Hell, give some books away if you have to. If you're going to do a morning radio show, offer to give away 2 or 3 books. If you give away books, that stuff usually comes back to you many-fold. I talk to a lot of authors who go, these books cost money. I'm not going to give them away. Well, you're not ever going to get them into the hands of anyone. You got to give away books to sell books. It's an old adage. So, hey, the guy is here to cut my yard. You probably can hear this in the background. So I'm going to let you go. That's it. Those are my tips for offline marketing. Keep in mind, offline and on, they go together. You need to cover it from both sides. Get out there and become a local celebrity. And if you do that, make sure you leave me a comment. Don't forget also to subscribe to this channel. I do these videos 5-6 times a week. And if you miss this, wow, your life will just be devoid. Is that devoid or devoid? Whatever. So, hey, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Again, don't forget if you leave a comment and I use your comment, I'm going to wet my whistle. If I use your question or comment on this show, you will get free digital copies of one of my books. Okay. Hey, I hope that was helpful. I hate to tell you this, but you can't just write anymore. You've got to become a marketer, and hopefully you have learned how to do that a little bit today. All right. Get out there, go market your books, go knock on some doors, and remember that tip I said about moving your books to the front of the store.